Hey, welcome in, welcome in. I'm just going to be using this white Vallejo primer and some airbrush thinner. And we're making sure that the white is super thin. It's really important to make sure that the white is as thin as you can get it. We're going to be building up the layers slowly and bringing the white up to pure white on the armour. But yeah, we just want it to spray nice and smooth through the airbrush. And yeah, we don't want it speckling or getting many clogs and stuff. Just want it nice and smooth and coming out onto the model nicely. I'll be spraying it 2 bar on my regulator. And for me, that means the regulator will be set at just above 2 bar, so maybe like 2.2. And when I push the trigger down and air comes through the airbrush, the needle dips to 2 bar. So yeah, we just add in the white in, and we're just putting that where our light source will be hitting the figure, or where we imagine the light source to be hitting the figure. And yeah, and also just adding it in where we think it looks cool or improves sort of light source look to it. But yeah, just go slowly, build up the layers, and yeah, just make sure that you bring the white up to pure white. Just thought this was an interesting way to show you how to paint. This is the way I learned. So starting off with a black primer and then doing a white zenithal, and then just adding the colours in over the top, but using the zenithal as like a road map or a guide to where you should put the colours. I think it's a really nice learning tool because it's very obvious where you've put your highlights and just where you're making the sort of the light source hit the figure. You can go very realistic with this, and you could have, if you're having the light source from just the top right of the figure and just leave the left half of the figure and mostly darkness or just shadow. But if you're using them mostly for gaming and you just want them to look cohesive and cool on the board, we'll just be adding sort of like a general light source. So yeah, it just looks cool from all angles. So yeah, just showing you where I've decided I'm going to place my light source. And you can go back and forth, you can darken up the areas with the primer, or you could, glaze black over and strengthen up some of the blacks, and then redo some of the whites and just go back and forth until you're like really happy with it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. And yeah, just giving you a little bit more of a further away look at it, just so you can see what it looks like. But yeah, you can make it a lot more stark, or like saying, just a lot more realistic looking, where you just have a light source coming from one side and the other side in complete darkness. But yeah, so I'm just using this matte black now just to line every single armor plate. And yeah, that will look really cool for when we put on the next color, because that will burn through the red that we'll put on. And yeah, it's like a good way, or like a nicer way to line the armor before putting the color on. Just it's easier to undo if you make them a bit thick. And yeah, you don't have to go over if you've got like really black parts of the model. It's not really worth lining the black parts, so you could just go over all of the white pieces, but just for the sake of completion, I'll be going over every single part, whether it's black or white. So yeah, it's a nice, not a cheat because it still takes time to do, but just means it's a little bit safer because you're not doing it over the red. So yeah, I'm just using the barrel red now, and I'll be spraying this directly onto the white pieces and trying my best not to hit any of the black parts. But you can see where I've got the black lines just on his leg armor panel there, and yeah, they just burn through the red. So yeah, it's a nice, I don't want to call it a cheat, but because it still takes time and effort to do, but it just feels a bit safer than doing it over the red. So yeah, again, just basically just trying to aim the red onto the white parts and leaving the black in the shadows. as is. Maybe letting it creep slightly just so it blends a little bit. But yeah, just try and mostly get it onto the white. Yeah, with the bile red as well, when you first spray it onto white, it does come up quite magenta and quite pinky. Yeah, so just build up the colours and just get it up to the pure red, just so we've got proper world eaters. Don't want them looking Emperor's Children-y or anything like that. Definitely want them red. And that's another thing with this technique, where you're using sort of transparent colours. It is important just to build up the colours to their full colour and try not to leave any gaps anywhere. It's another good learning tool to paint like this, just as it sort of disciplines your eye into making sure that the colours are where they're meant to be. As, say for instance, you could, if you miss out a bit, so if you just see on his left hand side up next to his sort of neck and collar, it's a little bit pinky in that gap. And yeah, so it's important that you notice stuff like that early. So just whilst you've got the red in the airbrush, you can go over it and have it how it should be, and not later on in the paint job. Whereas if you do get that later on in the paint job, all you'd have to do is just sort of glaze it, unless you're lucky enough to just be able to spray on more red. But yeah, you could just glaze the red on after. It's not really a problem, to be fair. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just sort of working on one area of the model, putting a layer of paint on and then moving to another layer, letting it dry, and just moving around slowly and just building up to the pure red. But yeah, just giving the model a check and seeing whether I need to put any more on and making sure I'm happy. I'll just be spraying this Talazar blue into all of the black areas now, and we're sort of just trying to shade and layer between the red and the dark areas. So we're just having it a little bit more interesting, so some of the super dark bits will be blue, and as it fades across onto the red, we'll be getting a nice purple come through. So we'll have quite a nice colour combination. And yeah, we're just reinforcing the shadows. We're not trying to make the shadows like pure blue, we're just having a bit more interest in the shadows, and yeah, just blending between the red parts on the armour. But yeah, just nice colour combinations, it looks super cool. You're always trying to get the coolest combinations and just the most amount of sort of contrast on the model, and just lots of nice interesting bits for your eye to lock onto. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with just having black shadows, but I feel that eye does find it a bit more interesting if it can sense blue and you see a few purples here and there. But yeah, looking really cool. Just a bit more of a realistic look, just so you can see how I see it as I'm painting, and just how you probably see it as you're painting it as well. So yeah, looking cool from far away, plenty of contrast. And yeah, just going back in with the bile red just to reinforce our red and just blend between the shadows a little bit more. Yeah, you can go back and forth as many times as you like, and just until you're happy with it. But yeah, really cool technique and really nice way to get lots of different colours onto the model, and just, yeah, lots of contrast and just getting it looking cool. Yeah, just having a look at him, making sure I'm happy. If I want to add more shadows or reinforce any more of the red. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how he's looking so far. And again, just a little further away look, just so you can see what he actually is more likely going to look like. So I'm just going to be using this matte black to go over all of the areas that aren't the red armour. So it'll be all of his trim, his weapons, some parts on his backpack, and like his tubes and chains and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't usually bother with this step, but again, this is the way I learned how to paint, and it is a nice way to learn how to paint and sort of discipline yourself. So yeah, it does look really cool when it's just all blacked in as well. And yeah, it gives you a nice base to put your other colours. But yeah, you feel free to skip this step and just move on to where I start doing the metallics. But if you haven't painted this way before, it is worth the experience. And yeah, it just gets you super disciplined and used to following the trim, and yeah, just planning out your painting stages before you get to them. Yeah, just building up your patience and enjoy yourself. We have chosen chaos, so there is plenty of trim to do, so you might as well just enjoy it. But yeah, just when everything's blacked in, it does look super cool. And yeah, it just gives you a nice sort of roadmap to where we're going next. And again, just a little bit of a further away look. Yeah, you don't have to use the same black as I do. I'm only starting to use the Army Painter stuff just as the place where I get my paints from. I've started stocking Army Painter, and they seem quite accessible for people as well, so I might start moving onto their line of paints. But yeah, just giving you a close-up look as well, just so you can see in a bit more detail. But yeah, looking super cool so far. I'm just going to be using this Balthasar Gold and this Army Painter base coating brush. Again, just I usually use the Citadel ones, but seeing as they had the Army Painter ones, they were slightly cheaper, and thought I'll give them a go. And to be fair, I'm quite impressed with it. So far it hasn't like splayed and done anything nasty. I don't particularly treat these brushes very well, but it's lasting longer than the ones I use from Citadel so far, so I'm quite pleased with that. But again, just use the paints and brushes that you've got the easiest access to. I do like this Balthasar Gold, it does come off the brush nice and smooth. And yeah, I don't find myself fighting with it on the model, so yeah, I do recommend that one. But yeah, again, if you've got a different similar colour that you prefer to use, then yeah, definitely just use that one. It's better to use paints that you're comfortable with and that you have easy access to, so you don't just have tons of random different brands of paint everywhere. So yeah, just so you can see, one leg complete. And then we'll just be going over all of the armour trim with this Sycorax paint there. and I'll be mainly just hitting the edges and adding some texture to it. If you wanted to go more stark, you could just paint it as we did the Balthazar gold, but only over where the red is on the armour, and that will give you a really obvious sort of light source shine. So yeah, just going over all the silver bits with the lead belcher now. So all of his weapons and the two sort of sticky out bits on his backpack. I think he's got some chains and stuff on his backpack as well. Oh yeah, and a couple of like buckles and stuff and his grenades. But yeah, just giving the model a quick look over. And we'll just be going over the silver parts of this new oil. Just adding some depth back into it. To be fair, the way I've painted the silver on this, it probably didn't really need the new oil, but I do like to pop it on there. It does definitely bring some definition back to the model. I'll just be using a subshanty bone now on all of the skull parts. And I'll just be going over the black parts of this Dawnstone and just be adding some slight edge highlights and just texture to all of the black pieces. But yeah, just adding a bit of texture and interest to some of the black parts. And we'll just be going over all the same parts again with the new oil, just to tie it together. Just be adding the skeleton horde over the skulls, just getting the depth back in and getting them a bit more realistic looking, a bit more dirty. And then yeah, just bringing some detail back into the skulls, just get them to like pop a little bit more. Not adding too much, just a bit of texture and yeah, just getting a bit of detail back on the faces of them. Yeah, I'm just going to be going onto his head now, using the Acadian flesh tone. And yeah, we're just applying it to his skin. Sort of trying to leave some of the shadows. We're going to leave it so he's so he does look a bit worn and really weathered. And then yeah, just highlighting him with the Kislev flesh, just bringing out some of the details and a little bit texture to him. And then going over him with the Carob of Crimson, and this will help make him sort of look really irritated and just weathered. It's where he's got like these weird pipes and stuff coming out of his head. So yeah, that'll definitely be irritating on the skin, and yeah, we want him to sort of look patchy and not smooth and nice. We want him to look rugged and yeah, just battle worn. And then yeah, we're just going back in with the Kislev flesh again and just picking out some of his details and just getting his face to pop a little bit. But yeah, just a little bit of texture and highlights to him, just a bit of interest on his face. There's probably somewhere where people will be looking, and just be going over all the silver parts of the Stormhost silver. And yeah, again, we're just looking to add some texture, some scratches, and get a bit of shine on there, and just get him really popping. Yeah, I'll be using this on his weapons and silver bits on his backpack and chain. But yeah, really liking the colour combinations on this model so far. It's coming together really nicely and looking really cool. Plenty of contrast on him, lots of places of interest and detail. So yeah, he looks really cool up close. Also is going to look cool on the gaming table. Yeah, it's giving you a look at him. And yeah, it is important to try, and every time you finish a step or before you move on to the next colour, just to give the model a good look around and make sure you're happy with them. And if you think of it, it's a bit like when a chef adds a new ingredient, they taste and make sure that they're happy with the taste before they add more or move on to the next step. So yeah, we're just always tasting. I used these 3 colours for his eyes. Well, unfortunately I didn't get the footage for that. For whatever reason, it's corrupted. So yeah, just moving on to the Blood for the Blood God technical paint. And yeah, just adding the blood effects to him. But yeah, if you want to see how I did the eyes, I basically did them the same way as I did the lenses. So I've got my Khorne Berzerkers video. And yeah, if you check that one out, I'll do it exactly in the same way. But yeah, well pleased with this model and how he's turned out. And yeah, if you haven't given the black and white zenithal way of painting, I definitely recommend it and give it a try. It was a really nice way to learn how to paint. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, absolutely love this model. Again, just super pleased with how he turned out, and yeah, he looks really cool. Anyway, thank you. See you in the next one.
Like, comment, subscribe, share.